Auspiciousness to you all. Hello and welcome to our channel. We are presenting to you the true stories from Buddha's time. They are basically about the lives of people who lived in Buddha's time. Most of them were devoted disciples of Buddha. In other words, they have a strong affinity with Buddha's Dhamma, helping them to overcome hardships. Conversely, some of them did not even embrace Buddha's Dhamma. Some of them even opposed and disparaged Buddha and the Sangha community. Having said that, we find that learning about their lives inspire us to face life's challenges with more resilience, take invaluable lessons, and be aware of what truly matters. It is because the people of bygone days were not much different from the people of 21st century. The technology development may differ, but human nature and norms remain the same. The issues they faced are not much different from ours. It should be noted that some stories did not actually took place at that time, but were stories of their past lives which the people retold, after they have attained the ability to see through their past lives. Hope you will find acceptance and inner peace after reading our stories.
This is a list of the Pali words you will find in the text. The closest meaning is also given. 1. Arahant. 2. Arahantship. 3. Bhikkhu. 4. Bodhisattva. 5. Brahma. 6. Brahman. 7. Sakavadan. 8. Samsara. 9. Dhamma. 10. Dhammasaka. 11. Dukkha. 12. Nirvana. 13. Paranibbana. 14. Pyasavegis. 15. Sakya Muni. 17. Sissa. Dukkha Sissa, Samudaya Sissa, Nirodha Sissa, Megha Sissa. 1. Samadhi. 2. Samasankappa. 3. Samavasa. 4. Samakamanda. 5. Samaajiva. 6. Samavayama. 7. Samasati. 8. Samasamadhi. 18. Vedas. 19. Anatta Lakhana Sutta. 20. Sotapatti Phala. 21. King Suddhodana and Queen Maya. 22. Siddhartha. 23. Kundanya. 24. Indra.
More than 2,500 years ago, in the city of Kapilavatthu, in what was now Nepal, a son was born to King Suddhodana and Queen Maya. It was a time when pious people were anticipating the coming of Buddha, an enlightened being, who would guide sentient beings to escape from samsara. The prophecy, according to ancient Vedas, texts and mantras believed to be revealed by the divine beings, was that the fourth Buddha of this world would be born in the near future. The prophecy, according to ancient Vedas, texts and mantras believed to be revealed by the divine beings, was that the fourth Buddha of this world would be born in the near future. From the devas of heavenly realms to the seekers of truth, in the human realm, all awaited the arrival of the enlightened one, who would vanquish the dukkha that afflict all sentient beings. From the devas of heavenly realms to the seekers of truth, in the human realm, all awaited the arrival of the enlightened one, who would vanquish the dukkha that afflict all sentient beings. Consequently, the spiritual landscape of India at that time was populated by various renunciants and seekers of truth. Some just practiced meditation and asceticism and hoped that they would attain mental powers to understand Buddha's teachings and reach nirvana. They have their followers too. A few of them had actually acquired psychic abilities. Some were just seekers. However, the prevailing belief system of the day was Brahmanism, with the Vedas as the tenet. The Vedas are believed to be revealed by divine beings. The Brahmins were the dominant masters of Brahmanism. They were the priests who exclusively had the right to learn the Veda texts, passed down from Brahmin teacher to Brahmin student. They were the learned ones, the advisors, the fortune tellers, who served the king and were supposed to belong to the upper class in the society of that day. Apart from being high officials of the king's court, they performed rituals for the masses. The birth of the prince coincides with the time the Vedic texts heralded the birth of Buddha. The birth of the prince coincides with the time the Veda texts heralded the birth of Buddha. The news of the birth of the prince was perceived by Hermit Asita through his telepathic powers. He lived far away from human habitation. In the far reaches of Himalaya mountains, he transported to the palace, looked at the prince's bodily marks, and revealed that the prince would surely be the Buddha that devas and ascetics had been waiting for so long. Then he wept from sorrow, because he would not live to see the events or hear the sermons. The king, furthermore, consulted the 5 Brahmin seers of the palace. They examined the extraordinary 32 bodily marks and 80 subtle signs of great man, and 4 of them foretold that the prince would become a Cakkavardhan, the monarch of the universe, or if he sought for Dhamma, he would become the Buddha. But the 4th seer, Kundana, the youngest of them, predicted that the prince would definitely become a Buddha and lead the beings to the path to nirvana. The king was dissatisfied, but for himself Kundana rejoiced at the thought that he would live long enough to hear the sermons. From then on, Kundana forsook the mundane life and led the life of an ascetic to wait for the day the prince renounced the royal life. He resolved that he would stay by his side and attended and supported the prince during the time he sought for enlightenment. Time passed, and when Prince Siddhartha was 29 years old, he renounced the royal life to seek for a path to deliver the sentient beings from the dukkha that afflict them as they go through samsara, the cycle of rebirths and deaths. Time passed, and when Prince Siddhartha was 29 years old, he renounced the royal life to seek for a path to deliver the sentient beings from the dukkha that afflict them as they go through samsara, the cycle of rebirths and deaths. True to his resolve, Kundana was there to accompany the prince, now a bodhisattva, a nascent Buddha, together with 4 other companions. They were known as the Pinkavagas, the group of 5. Initially, Siddhartha learned from Alara Kalama, and later Udaka Ramaputra, the 2 sages renowned for their compassion and mastery of spiritual practices. From them the prince learned all of the doctrine the 2 sages could impart, soon becoming a master himself and assisted his teachers in training disciples. He also acquired supernatural powers, but he realized that they would not lead to elimination of suffering, dukkha, that beings meet as they travel through never-ending cycles of rebirth and death. In spite of his unmet expectations, he then came to be known as Sakyamuni, the sage of the Sakya clan. The 6 of them said farewell to their teacher and set off to a forest near the Naranyara river, and settled down in a cave on the slope of a hill. There Siddhartha practiced self-mortification. This kind of practice, which was the order of the day among the ascetics and renunciants all over India. In Siddhartha's case, it was prolonged fasting. At first, he subsisted only on food that could be found near the place where he was meditating. Then, almost nothing. Eventually he became so weak that he could barely move from the place of meditation. His bodily marks and signs, that were the inborn evidence that he would become the Buddha, started to fade. The deities of the forest were alarmed. They even planned to put nutriments through the pores of his body. The news of the Bodhisattva's imminent death from weakness reached Indra, the king of divine beings of a celestial realm, Tavamtasa. He appeared before Bodhisattva with his harp in his hand. He first played his harp with strings that were slackly strung. No music came out from the harp. Then he played again. This time the strings were tightly strung. The strings broke. Then he played again, this time properly tuned. A pleasant sound emerged. Thus, Bodhisattva realized that this kind of extreme asceticism is not the right way. He decided to partake of food once again, and soon regained his strength and vitality. The bodily marks became more distinct again. However, the group of 5 led by Kundana thought that Buddha had given up his search for the way, had admitted defeat. Losing heart, they abandoned him and left for Varanasi. Bodhisattva, now all by himself, even felt more freedom, without the need to consult anyone. He left the cave and headed towards the Gaya area. There under a bo tree he attained enlightenment. He spent there for 49 more days contemplating his Dhamma. When the 49-day retreat was over, he thought of imparting his supreme knowledge to his 2 former masters, but they had left this world and were reborn as Brahma beings with only Nama and no Rupa. It means that they are not able to listen or comprehend the sermon. Next, he thought of the Pankavagas, the 5 happy group, led by Kundana. They are now residing in Isipatana forest, a deer park in Varanasi. He traveled all the way on foot to deliver his first sermon. When they saw Buddha at a distance coming to them, they said to each other, "There comes Siddhartha Gautama, let's not welcome him." We engaged 6 years of our lives attending him with the hope that he would find the supreme wisdom, but he let us down. In spite of their resolve, when Buddha approached them, one of them took his alms bowl, one spread out a sheet for him to sit, one brought water to quench the thirst after a long and tiring journey. They were overwhelmed by the radiant aura and the reverential demeanor that only an enlightened one can radiate. In spite of their resolve, when Buddha approached them, one of them took his alms bowl, one spread out a sheet for him to sit, one brought water to quench the thirst after a long and tiring journey. They were overwhelmed by the radiant aura and the reverential demeanor that only an enlightened one can radiate. Buddha then declared that he had found enlightenment and was now ready to teach them the path to enlightenment. At first, the Pinkavagas were skeptical. How can enlightenment be attained after giving up the austere practices? They contended. Buddha affirmed, during all the time I was still seeking, have I ever told you that I have found the path? Now I am declaring that I have, and here I come to guide you towards the path to nirvana. Having won their acceptance and trust, Buddha expounded his doctrine. First of all, he asserted that the two extremes of indulging in sensual pleasures and self-mortification should be avoided. Then he expounded the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths that all sentient beings cannot escape are: the first noble truth is dukkha sukha or suffering, impermanence, emptiness, unsubstantiality, imperfections, dissatisfaction, futility. Then he expounded the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths that all sentient beings cannot escape are: the first noble truth is dukkha sukha or suffering, impermanence, emptiness, unsubstantiality, imperfections, dissatisfaction, futility. The second noble truth is samadhiya sukha, or the arising of dukkha. It is the thirst or craving for sense pleasure, existence and becoming, and non-existence. The third noble truth is nirvana sukha, or the cessation of the dukkha. It is that there is emancipation, liberation, freedom from the continuity of dukkha. The second noble truth is samadhiya sukha, or the arising of dukkha. It is the thirst or craving for sense pleasure, existence and becoming, and non-existence. The third noble truth is nirvana sukha, or the cessation of the dukkha. It is that there is emancipation, liberation, freedom from the continuity of dukkha. The fourth noble truth is magga sukha, the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. The path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. They are: 1. Right understanding, samadhi; 2. Right thought, samasankappa, right resolve; 3. Right speech, samavasa; 4. Right action, samakambanda; 5. Right livelihood, samaajiva; 6. Right effort, samaviyama; 7. Right mindfulness, samasati; 8. Right concentration, samasamadhi. They are all linked to each other. They are developed more or less simultaneously. All through the night, as Lord Buddha expounded the Dhamma, they listened, discussed, asked to clarify, meditated, and when the first rays of sunlight appeared on the horizon, Kundana declared that he had comprehended the Dhamma. Omniscient Buddha knew that Kundana had indeed attained right view, crossed over doubt and uncertainty, had gained Dhamma insight about the arising and cessation nature of things. At the same time, the earth devas shouted with jubilation, which was heard by devas from other 5 deva realms. The shout of the devas was heard by Brahmas of the Brahma realms, and at that moment a mighty radiance appeared in the multiverse. Thereafter, Buddha proclaimed, indeed, Kundana had gained Dhamma insight. Indeed, Kundana had gained Dhamma insight. Then, Kundana asked to be ordinated. When Buddha said, "Come bhikkhu, practice Dhamma, follow the right path that lead to nirvana," instantly Kundana became a bhikkhu, complete with robes and alms bowl in his hands. The moment he became a bhikkhu, he also attained arhantship. Thereafter, Buddha proclaimed, indeed, Kundana had gained Dhamma insight. Indeed, Kundana had gained Dhamma insight. Then, Kundana asked to be ordinated. When Buddha said, "Come bhikkhu, practice Dhamma, follow the right path that lead to nirvana," instantly Kundana became a bhikkhu, complete with robes and alms bowl in his hands. The moment he became a bhikkhu, he also attained arhantship. Thus, Kundana became the first among the sentient beings to gain the wisdom that leads to nirvana. This sermon at Isipatana reserved forest in Varanasi, known throughout the Buddhist world as setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma, or the Dhammacakka, was the first ever Buddhist sermon, and Buddha would deliver it again and again, and in greater detail until he entered the parinirvana. While Buddha was delivering the sermon, beings all over the multiverse were in audience together with the Pinkavagas. At the end of the sermon, 180 million Brahmas of the Brahma realm attained the Sotapaddi Phala. For the next 5 days, Buddha preached Anattalakkhana Sutta, the doctrine of no soul. At the end of the sermon, 4 other Vagas gained Dhamma insight, and shortly after, became arhants. When the Sangha community became stronger, Buddha bestowed him the title, first among the bhikkhus to become an arhant. In his later years, he retreated to a forest monastery deep in the Himalaya mountains, visiting Buddha occasionally. He entered nirvana while he was meditating in a sitting position, in the forest monastery.